It's time for another episode of MoState Update, the official podcast of Missouri State Athletics. Here are your hosts, Corey Riggs, and the voice of the Bears, Art Haynes.
Well, welcome to our sixth episode of MoSports Update. I'm Art Haynes, along with Corey Riggs. We'll take you through some things that are going on in Missouri State Athletics. Start out with the men's basketball game last Saturday night against Indiana State. A tough 80-77 loss. They worked their way for a layup with 12 seconds to go to kind of put the game away. Des White, though, had a sensational game, a career-high 30 points for the Bears.
Yeah, it was an impressive effort by Des, and obviously it wasn't for a lack of anything that he did that the Bears didn't come away with their first Missouri Valley Conference win of the season. Big Michael Osei-Bonsu recorded his first career double-double at the Division I level. I think he had like 17 playing JUCO ball at Vincennes, but the Bears also got Vincent Brady back after missing 2 games with a hamstring injury, and he dropped in 15 points. The Bears, however, were a little guard short. They were without Mose Downing Rivers, who after Vincent Brady went out with a hamstring injury. Mose ended up suffering the same injury in the road win at Oral Roberts. So hopefully they'll get him back and everybody will be healthy and ready to go as they get ready to make a very long road trip out to Pullman, Washington.
That forced Zaxton King into even more playing time at the point guard, and Chase Martin, of course, taking over there too. He's been a very versatile player this year.
Oh, yeah, and just so smart on the court. Works with the officials, works with the team well. I feel like when Chase is out on the floor, he's like having another coach on the floor, one of the few seniors on this squad, and he brings good leadership to the floor and is a sixth man that garners a lot of attention when he hits the floor, because he will drive to the lane and try to create off the dribble, or he'll step back and try to shoot from the perimeter just like every other good guard in the league will do.
Bears had a couple of three-point attempts to tie late in the game, but they did not obviously go in, and they lose it 80-77. Bears shot 45% from the floor. They were 8 of 22 from long range, not bad. 17 for 27 at the line, and that's a drop down from their recent games, which have been pretty impressive free throw shooting.
Well, and you brought it up to Conzo Martin on Inside the Den last night and talked to him about it, and Coach said they spend, about 20 minutes each practice on free throw shooting, and the guys spend their individual work time outside of team practice on it. And we saw a game where it went down a little bit. Then we saw for a couple of games down in the Cayman Island Classic, as a team, they shot very well, probably up in the 70% range as a team. And then you have a game like this one where it kind of dips back down again, and I think that's just you're gonna have to kind of ride the snake a little bit, or ride the roller coaster a little bit with this team as they get that dialed in.
The Bears go to Washington State on Saturday for a tough road trip in Pullman, and then back home next Wednesday night against Lincoln. Another home game on Sunday the 21st against UC Santa Barbara before the Christmas break.
And then up to your eyeballs at Missouri Valley Conference games, the last run through the Missouri Valley Conference for the Bears, and it's one that I know we've all been talking about it, but I don't think this is an 11th place team in the Valley.
No.
And I think once we get through the holidays and get into league play, they're going to start showing that. But the preseason pick best team in the Valley, Bradley, they got beat pretty good by Washington State. So this could be a tall order on the road against Wazoo.
Well, the Lady Bears now 5-3 after a 62-50 home win last Friday night over Wyoming. They held them, as we say, to 50 points. Missouri State imposed its will. They improved to 25-0 under Coach Beth Cunningham when holding opponents to under 60 points.
And you kind of expect that, don't you? I mean, when you can play that sort of stingy, tenacious defense, to hold somebody to 60 is one thing. To hold them to 50 is a whole other thing. And this was a team, Art, I don't remember if you watched that game or not, but physically, when you do just the eye test, they looked bigger, faster, stronger, the Cowgirls. They had bigger bodies, more length, more height. and that did not stop the Lady Bears from out-hustling, out-rebounding, and eventually outscoring them in 3 of the 4 quarters. I think Wyoming only outscored the Lady Bears in the 4th quarter, and it was a 2-point differential.
Lady Bear defense, it was the difference. They held Wyoming to 39% from the field and 10% from three-point range.
Yeah.
They were 2 for 20, turned 17 Cowgirl turnovers into 22 points, collected 8 steals and 4 blocks. So a great defensive showing resulted in a victory.
And I think maybe the stat that blew me away more than anything else was the points in the paint. Remember, I told you, sitting courtside watching the Cowgirls that are coached by former Springfield Kickapoo Lady Chief Heather Izell, I thought that they were going to be physically the more dominant team. Lady Bears outscored them in the paint, 38-30, and Missouri State's bench was a lot more active, outscoring the Cowgirls 24-3. So those were both stats. I mean, there really just wasn't a stat column that the Lady Bears didn't have the advantage in over the course of the night.
Caden Beckemeyer had a career-high 15 points and a career-high 8 rebounds in the game. And Sarah Linthicum was in double figures with 14 points, 5 rebounds, and a block shot. Lacey Stokes, solid as always, 7 points, in addition to 8 rebounds at 5'4",
and 8 assists.
Out 8 assists.
Yes, I mean, that's what Coach Cunningham mentioned on Inside the Den on Monday night, that anytime you flirt and you are that close with the triple-double, it ought to get somebody's attention, and it definitely got mine. The 8 assists is one thing, but to see your 5'4" point guard come up with 8 rebounds against a team that at any given time, Art, was putting 6'3", 6'4", 6'2" out on the court, that's impressive, and that also harkens back to those conversations about what makes a really good rebounder, and it's not all just about being tall.
No, indeed not. Well, Missouri State senior volleyball players Maddie Bushnell and Kate Owens both named to the MVC Scholar Athlete team.
Yeah, it's a nice award for them at the end of the season. Bushnell repeats as a first-team award winner. Owens, for the 2nd consecutive year, is recognized on the 2nd team. And the rules and everything to get this award are kind of like the academic All-American voting. So you've got to have at least a 3.5 GPA or higher and have to be a starter or play significant minutes in whatever sport you're participating in. So obviously, Maddie and Kate definitely worthy of this, and excelling both on the court and in the classroom this year for Coach Steve McRoberts.
Indeed so. Missouri State track and field opened the indoor season last Saturday night at Pittsburgh State.
Yeah, a lot of players, or a lot of competitors from Missouri State that had individual honors. Lindsey Williams had a first-place finish in the high jump. The sophomore set a personal record of 1.69 meters. Meanwhile, Missouri State had 10 or more top 10 finishes in the meet. Olivia Rogers had 2 of them. She's a sophomore sprinter. She had a PR in the 200-meter dash with a time of 24.93 seconds. That was good enough for 3rd. Then she had another PR in the 60-meter dash with a time of 7.55 seconds. That was good enough to get on the podium in 4th place. So a lot of individual records set in the track and field for these young ladies, and a lot of them, you notice, I feel like I just kept saying sophomore over and over again. So a lot of young talent doing very well early in the season.
Yeah, and a freshman, in fact, Brianna Garrett, finished 5th in the 400-meter dash. Abby Meyer was the sole Missouri State representative in the 800-meter run, in which she finished 10th in a time of 2:16.69. In the final track event of the day, Bears picked up 3 top 10 finishes, and this was in the 3,000-meter run.
Yep, and I say they had a couple of more top 10s. Whitney Farrington and Selena Morris at Halstead. They had the relay group in the 4x400 meter, finished with a time of 3:52.40. And wrapped up a very good weekend of competition over in Pittsburgh, Kansas.
So they'll take a month off now for the break, and then come back with the Show Me Showdown hosted by Mizzou on January 17th.
So it'll be a short break and then a short road trip get things started up in Columbia for the track and field season. And it's always odd, I feel like, to talk about that this time of year, but indoor track and field and outdoor track and field, a lot of the same competitors, but not exclusively.
Well, our guests on the show today, next, Missouri State Athletic Director Patrick Ransdell, and then point guard Lacey Stokes from the Lady Bears.
Yep.
So all that coming up on Mo Sports Update. Back with you on MoState Update, and we're pleased to have as our guest Athletic Director Patrick Ransdell. Pat, the football season tickets have gone on sale.
I'm so excited about this. I've been looking forward to this day for the last 3 months. Finally able to we're able to get our Conference USA ticketing out there, and looking forward to next fall. A lot of people have been talking about kicking off everything next year, and now we kind of have some real tangible assets that we can point to, and we're excited to have them on sale today.
So there'll be 6 home games. We got SMU and UT Martin, and then 4 conference games. I guess we don't know yet who or where.
We don't know yet. Hopefully here we know within the next 2 months. I would expect no later than the end of February, but sometimes it does take ESPN a little while to get down the ladder, so to speak, of FBS conferences as they set all their games.
So you had mentioned with the move to FBS, there'd be some sticker shock, I think is what you used for the football season tickets. Kind of might take us through what the ticketing structure is going to be.
So certainly most of our areas in the stadium are going to have a new price point to them. The good news is I don't think there's anything outrageous with it. I understand that there may be some people who have had tickets in certain areas for 20, 30 years without much change. But that being said, we go as low as $99 in some areas of the stadium. So, and the other good news is there's not a bad seat in our entire football stadium. We have 17,000 plus great seats. This is just going to be a way for us to generate a little bit more money, which we have to do. If people want to look toward, how can we really help this program have success at the next level, it's buying season tickets, it's attending games, and it's donating to the Bears Fund. And this is going to accomplish all of those.
Like I say, there will be 6 games, so take that into account. And I guess the most attractive seats are those lower in the upper level, the ones with chair backs, and then you got the 2 sections either side, and then the down below. People still like sitting in the original stadium seats.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, there's not a bad seat in the house. They're all great, and we are going to do some improvements to the stadium. I'm talking with President Williams, and we're coming up with some plans this spring to spruce some things up and even add some chair-back seating in there. So we're in the process of doing some of that right now. We're just excited to launch this stuff and get it out there, really get renewals behind us so that we can really start selling the empty seats. That's maybe as important as anything. And I'll also say, you mentioned 6 games as opposed to 5, so your value is better from that aspect. And then we've also on our website, and when we mail out some things in the mail, we're going to include a comparison that looks at our pricing as it relates to kind of the donation that's tied to our pricing versus what maybe some of our group of 5 kind of aspirational schools are. Boise State, where I'm coming from, App State, people who have had success at the FBS level at the group of 5, where their pricing is as opposed in relation to ours. And once everybody sees that, I think everybody will kind of be pleased with where we fell.
So there are a variety of ways that people can order season tickets.
Yep. You can come on by here to the arena. We'll be glad to take care of you in person. Log on to your account and log online, and we'll be able to take care of it that way. Or call our ticket office. Any of the 3 will work just fine. Not really particularly care about which one you do, but just do it.
Is this a different timing right now, Patrick,
yes,
on this than it has been in the past? I feel like this is very early versus normally when football's talking about season tickets, and there's a logical reason for that, I guess.
There's no doubt. I mean, we are months ahead of schedule at the moment, and that's by design. We do not want to be rolling stuff out in March and April with a deadline of June, July, and then be kind of up against the season trying to get rid of all of our single game tickets or sell new season tickets. So we want to get this renewal process started, complete, and start selling new season tickets so that we can fill that stadium, because by the time we kick off against SMU, about a month before that, I would love to have a sold-out SMU game by mid-August, and we need as much time to be able to do that as possible, because I think it's going to take a lot of hand-to-hand combat, so to speak, and picking up the phone, smiling and dialing, and we're going to have to get after it a little bit on our end to get some stuff accomplished, but certainly earlier the better in terms of season tickets, and that is by design.
Now, when I was watching the college football playoff selection show this past weekend and watching it come down to Alabama and SMU, did you really feel like that was an important thing for SMU to have that chance to be in the postseason? And do you feel like that's going to have an effect on how many maybe casual football fans want to come out to Plaster for that game?
There was no bigger Mustang fan than I was.
I don't know.
During that show.
Guy's a pretty big Mustang fan.
That's right. So it was great. You know, I mean, that allows us to really utilize that for the next really 10 months leading into this game. So I think it's great. There is never going to be a bigger game in the history of Missouri State football, quite possibly, than this game coming up next September. And I know we're excited about it. You know, and here's the other thing. Obviously, we haven't set our single game pricing yet, but that obviously, with supply and demand, I would anticipate a good priced ticket for that SMU game. So here's the thing. The best thing that you can do is buy a season ticket, and because you may have to come to one or two games and you'll pay basically the same amount that you would for a season ticket. So why not just come to all of them, buy the season ticket, come to all of them instead of just worrying about one game. So we will price things in accordance to making sure that our season ticket holders have gotten the best value that we can provide them.
You've mentioned in the past about trying to beef up the ticket sales staff a little bit. I mean, we've kind of got a staff of one that does a great job, but how is that looking for next year or the future?
Yeah, so as we get into the budget process this spring, I would like to figure out a way to enhance that staff, because we just need more bodies to go out and sell. And in my opinion, if we can show a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times their salary, what they're bringing in, seems like a no-brainer to me.
Sure.
Say that's the part that I know has kind of been one of your biggest talking points when you've been out and about, and you have been out and about a lot since you hit the ground running here, trying to make sure that people understand that the best way to support the university is by buying a ticket, by coming to a game, because there's just only so many things that are really controllable in the college sports landscape. But that ticket money, it comes from the fans to the program. There's not a lot of in-between to worry about when it comes to that.
There's no doubt. I mean, every time I come to one of these games back here I look up and I see a lot of opportunity. And that's what every empty seat is an opportunity for us to make a difference and invest back into this program. So you're exactly right. You know, we can control that. Our fans can control that. Springfield can control that. We've got 500,000 people in this DMA, and every single one of them can log on right now and buy a ticket, season ticket for next year's football season. So I would encourage everybody to do that. People can buy a ticket for the Lady Bears this Saturday, or our men's team later on this month when they get back from their West Coast trip this weekend.
Yeah.
So you're right. I mean, our people and our department can control season tickets and people coming to our games. So there's a lot of stuff that's not in our control, but that one is.
The new conference, of course, much more spread out than the Missouri Valley Conference, and you had mentioned, or it was this before you were here, at the announcement for Conference USA that the teams would have to fly to most of these games in all sports. Is that still built into the budget?
Well, when we go through the budget process this spring, that travel line item is certainly going to be higher. There's no doubt about it, which is also obviously leads into the conversation of maybe some increased prices and football season tickets and some other things. So, certainly having our volleyball team have to fly down to Miami, have to fly out to El Paso, that's different than jumping on a bus going to Carbondale.
It is, and I would assume, and I think this is true, but you tell me if you agree, there's also something to be said about in recruiting, telling your players that you're playing in a larger conference, in a more geographically diverse conference, and more importantly, that they're not going to spend that much time on a bus. And in this knife fight for holding on to players, not having them go into the transfer portal and everything else, the better their student-athlete experience is here, the more likely you are to hold on to them and not have to re-recruit them, right?
There's no doubt. I mean, as much as cheaper an option an 8-hour bus ride is, it's still not fun. Nobody wants to be on a bus for 8 hours. The good news is our airport has got direct flights to a lot of places. We can get to Atlanta pretty easy. We can get to Charlotte. We can get down to Florida. We can get into Texas. We can get into a lot of places fairly easily, and so we can, without connecting too much. And then when you talk about recruiting, now we can go down to Miami, Florida, and recruit kids saying, "Hey, we're going to come to you, Mom and Dad. We're going to be playing right here in your backyard. You're not going to have to travel all the time to come see your kid play." So it's nice to be able to get into Texas and Florida and Georgia, where you see a lot of the high-level recruits. And when we talk about signing day, look where all the best recruits are coming from. And so there's 3 states I just mentioned, among others, but that's a big deal.
I was going to say I don't know about necessarily other sports, but I know when you mention those 3 states, the first thing I think of is football.
There's no doubt.
That is where the football recruits come from.
And all across all sports. I mean, you look at basketball players, it doesn't matter. I mean, when you have those big population centers, you're going to get a lot of talent across the spectrum of all of our sports from a lot of the areas that I just mentioned.
Well, football season tickets on sale now. Get them while you can, and you can get them for a while and be a part of the support of the Bears teams going forward.
It'd make a great Christmas gift, right, Patrick?
I can't think of a better Christmas gift.
Absolutely. Patrick, keep up the good work. Merry Christmas, and thanks for being with us.
All right, appreciate it, guys. Thanks you.
When we come back, we'll visit with Missouri State Lady Bears point guard Lacey Stokes. That's next on MoState Update. Welcome back to MoState Update. Well, our next guest is Lady Bears senior guard Lacey Stokes from Mount Vernon. Lacey, first of all, welcome.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
You seem to be working out pretty well here for you and for the program. You're in your second year and had a great first year and off to a good start as a senior.
Last year, was an amazing first year in the Valley in this division. And then to come back this year with, a really talented team with a lot of girls who are really fun to play with, but they're really fun to be with off the court, too. You've been asked this a million times, but you went to Missouri Southern initially. People thought you were too short to play D1 ball. You were a Division II All-American. You came here, and, well, you proved enough last year, newcomer of the year, and now you're preseason first-team All-Conference. So I guess you have overcome the critics. I've definitely been told I was too small, I think, my whole life. So it's been kind of awesome to continue to kind of prove them wrong throughout, whether it was middle school, high school, and now in college. But I'm just really thankful for the coaches who invested in me, regardless of what everyone was saying, and gave me the opportunity to do so.
I think what people think of you the most is your ability and willingness to drive the ball to the basket, get knocked down, get pushed around, and still to finish. Or at least get to the line, and oftentimes the shot goes in and you get an and one. Where is this the will to do that? Where's that come from?
Coach Cunningham kind of tells me I go up against the trees sometimes, but I think I've been up against trees my whole life, and so my trainers, obviously realizing that, taught me ways that might not look like normal shots, but there's stuff that I've practiced, and that's how I get them off and get them to go in.
So, were you recruited at all by any Division I schools out of high school?
I was not. I only had 2 Division II offers and 1 NAIA.
So in your time growing up in Mount Vernon, playing in Southwest Missouri, being in tournaments here in Springfield, was there ever a thought about being a Lady Bear, hoping that this would be an opportunity that would present itself to you when you got to the college part of your basketball career?
Yeah, definitely. I think from the start, I wanted to be a Lady Bear. I was a ball girl for a while whenever I was little. I came to the camps. Kinsey Williams is from my same hometown, and I watched her play here, and just, wanted to do the same thing as I was growing up. So
it's an interesting area, I've always said, in Southwest Missouri and the Ozarks, because I feel like there is a much brighter light on women's basketball, on girls' high school basketball, on women's college basketball here than maybe there has been in a lot of places. But that is changing now. The women's game is getting so much more attention. The WNBA, the Women's NCAA tournament. Does it surprise you now, maybe the popularity of how your game is growing in the last couple of years?
Yeah, definitely. But it's been awesome to see, watching the women's Division I championship be, broadcasted by so many people, and that's not something you usually hear of. So to be able to be kind of in that generation and be a part of that is an awesome feeling.
Do you have a player that you kind of emulate?
I really don't. My trainer kind of like picks stuff from NBA guys because he's a guy, obviously.
Right,
but
sure.
So maybe like he tries to get stuff off of Kyrie because he's got handles, and I'm a point guard, so he tries to get like little handles stuff that I can work on.
Well, that's the video part of the college game. I don't know if you didn't play or weren't a part of a college team, maybe the amount of time that's spent watching video, how much of it is watching, say, tape on what you do and where you need to improve versus the opposition and the whole offense? Do you kind of have to break it up into different segments?
Yeah, we watch a lot of film. I've actually never watched so much film in my life than when I got here. My first game here, me and Coach Cunningham rewatched the entire first game together. So, but it's helped me grow. I think without that, I wouldn't have been able to make the transition that I did with her teaching me, step by step, this situation. But we'll watch as a team what our team needs to work on better together, and then you go with your individual coaches, and they'll be like, this is you, this is what you did, here's how we're going to fix it.
But as the point guard, you kind of, it's, to use another sports analogy, it's like being quarterback. You have to know everybody. Everybody else on the team can kind of just know their percentage, their 1/5 of being on the floor, but you have to know everybody's job. That's got to be daunting.
Yeah, I like being able to, I guess, be kind of not necessarily in control, but understanding like all my teammates, like knowing who's the hot hand, knowing where people need to be on the floor when they don't know the play that just got called. So it's a lot, but I really love doing it. I love the pressure that comes with it.
Well, you must. You're an excellent free throw shooter. I remember, I've watched some of the games on the road so far this year, and you go to the line late in the game, Lacey's going to make them. So you've got that mental toughness, I guess.
Yeah, I would say that's something that I've definitely had to pick up along the way with proving people wrong with my height.
What was maybe, we've talked about the toughness that you play with, about proving people wrong. So the move from Missouri Southern to Missouri State, what was the biggest difference as far as the level of competition between playing at the level you started at, where you were an All-American, and then coming to the Missouri Valley and playing Division I basketball?
The talent, obviously, across the board. You have girls coming off the bench here that could have, been starters or also All-Americans, at the level I was before. And so there's not really, I'm on this person, I can take this play off. They're not going to do anything. You have to be fully locked in all game long, every possession, no matter who you're guarding.
So you had no doubts when you made the move that you were ready for it?
No doubts. I was ready to go, and I just needed a coach that was going to give me the opportunity to do so.
So what are your plans beyond college?
Originally I was looking into dental hygiene school. I was also looking into maybe playing overseas. Right now I'm really interested in maybe being a surgical tech because that's what my degree could get me here. But, getting a job, moving somewhere, and hopefully staying around so I can watch my teammates continue their careers here.
Say now, surgical tech, that's kind of something I grew up with. My mom, my sister were both nurses. My mom was an OR nurse forever, and that can kind of be a different world. So apparently you don't have to look away when there's blood on the floor or anything. No. You're good with that stuff.
I'm pretty good with that. I've seen a lot in my life, so.
That's because it is definitely a different world. But I could see where somebody that has competed at a high level, there's a certain level of adrenaline and excitement in surgery that would kind of continue that for you, what you might be missing when your playing days are over.
Yeah, a little pressure. Still feeling some pressure every day at work.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I imagine even when you're at work, you're going to try to play some basketball somehow.
Yeah, my break time, maybe on the weekends, getting a league every Tuesday night.
Well, what is the goal, or at least what are maybe your personal goals for the remainder of this season as you kind of wind up what you're doing here? Obviously, there's a ton of basketball left to be played, and I know you don't want it to end anytime soon.
No, absolutely not. I'm hoping each game comes as slow as it can so they don't just keep flowing through, but I really want to see our girls go, into conference play with a winning record, I think, from this first semester, and then so we've got, some rolling, and then I think learning throughout those beginning games so that we're playing our best basketball in March. We don't need to be playing our best basketball in January when we're coming off a week break. Just getting back in, learning from stuff, and hopefully, having a good win in March.
I'm sure that you would like to maybe have, I shouldn't say I'm sure, you might be done after the end of this year and be ready to be done. But I was going to ask, if you had another year, do you feel like you're missing out on the move to Conference USA? Is there any part of you that would have liked to have seen what that competition was going to be like?
Yeah, I'm really excited for my teammates that are getting to come back. I think that's going to be awesome. I think my family's thankful that I'm done before that because
the travel's a little different than the next league.
Yes, and they come to every game. Both my grandparents, my mom and dad, and so I think that would have been a bit of a stretch for them doing all that.
How much of a crew did you have, or did you have any family that made their way down to St. Thomas to the Paradise Jam with you guys?
I had quite a crew. My dad and his wife and his brother, or his sister and her husband, and then my mom, my stepdad, both my grandparents, and then my best friend I played with at Southern came down with her mom, and they both came down to watch us play.
So you were talking about watching the games on TV, so Lacey had 10 people at the game just to watch her.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good travel party.
Oh yeah, they're awesome. I'm extremely thankful for them.
Well, Lacey, you're in the midst of a great career here at Missouri State, and hopefully the best is yet to come.
Yep, hopefully. I plan on that.
I know last year you talked about playing your best in March. Heartbreaker at the conference tournament. You came so close.
Yeah. We talk about it every now and then, but Coach obviously doesn't want to hang it over our heads. But I think we all have that bitter taste in our mouth, and we make sure that the teammates who weren't here to experience it know what it was like and understand why. We pay attention to every detail now because it comes down to whether it's the first play of the game that determines it or the last play. It all matters.
Well, I know you had a conference tournament at Southern, but what was it like going to Moline for the Valley tournament last year?
It was pretty cool. I mean, I'd never, we just went to Kansas City, which was like a 2-hour drive, and it was comfort. I've been to Kansas City many times, but this was like a whole different place, and the arena was awesome. And then getting to see like all of us, all these teams, like you don't really talk, but then you guys see each other outside of the court, and so it's kind of a weird dynamic of like, I have to guard you tomorrow, but how are you doing today?
We could be nice now, but tomorrow I'm going to be all over you. I think I'm right. Is it Evansville this year? This year the tournament moves from Moline to Evansville, so they'll play in the Ford Center, the same facility that the Bears and the Purple Aces play at when we go up on the road, and it's a really nice facility. So it's definitely probably one of the nicer ones in the league, I would say.
Yeah, it is. It is. Not as nice as this arena.
Not as nice as this one.
Never.
We've got it really good here.
Yeah, we do.
Well, Lacey, thanks so much for being with us, and keep up the good work, and have a great rest of your senior year.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for having me.
You bet. Lacey Stokes. Corey and I will be back on Mo Sports Update right after this. Well, not too much going on at Missouri State Athletics right now. It's finals week. Commencement is on Friday, but there are some activities going on. Saturday afternoon at 1, the Lady Bears will host Little Rock, a team that was coached for years by Joe Foley. Now, he is retired, but his longtime assistant has taken over.
Yeah, I think I looked it up last night talking to Beth Cunningham about it on Inside the Den. I think Joe had been there 37 years. Does that sound right?
Well, he was at Arkansas Tech before that, so he'd probably been in coaching that long.
Yep, so a very long career, and, of course, known for tenacious defense. And with his longtime assistant taking over, none of that has changed. And so it'll be a really good test for the Missouri State Lady Bears. I've heard more than one person say when you look at that sort of matchup, it looks like a Missouri Valley Conference matchup, so it'll help get them ready for league play, which the Bears have already played their first league game. The Lady Bears have yet to play their first Missouri Valley Conference matchup.
So that'll be this Saturday at 1. You can stream it on ESPN Plus or listen on the Missouri State Radio Network from Learfield. The men will have a home game next Wednesday, December 18th, against Lincoln. It's an 8 o'clock game for some reason. And Lincoln was a long ago big rival in the late 70s when the Bears were in the MIAA. They would annually meet for the championship. I remember one year played 3 times, including in the regional, and they were all decided by 2 points or less.
Well, I hope it's not nearly that close of a game for Conzo Martin and his Bears. But
that was a long time ago.
It was, but both that game and the Lady Bears game will be your last 2 opportunities to donate to the Crossline toy giveaway, the charity toy drive that the Student Athlete Activity Council's been putting together. So if you have an unwrapped toy and you want to donate it to a child in need in our area, you can do that at the next Lady Bears game and the next Bears game in time for the holidays.
And then don't forget to come out to Big Shots Golf at Kearney and Glenstone for Inside the Den Monday night. Tom Ladd is with Coach Beth Cunningham at 6. Corey and I are with Coach Conzo Martin at 7. Those games air on KWTO AM 560 and FM 93.3. We always have a student-athlete guest on the show, and that's always a lot of fun.
It is. It's so much fun to get to know the kids, the players. And this week, you and I had Big Michael Osei Bonsu on, and he was quite a character. And I don't know what the average fan thinks, but the more I get to know these players and stuff, the more you want to root for them. The group that Conzo has brought in is a really remarkable group of young men, and I recommend you come out, get to know the players, get to talk to Coach Martin, because there's not very many places you can just walk up and talk to a Division I men's or women's basketball coach and ask them what you're thinking, but you can do it on Monday nights out of Big Shots.
Yeah, indeed. And the men are 2 for 2. First week was Makai Valentine, a freshman, and then Big Mike last night. Both very articulate and thoughtful.
Yep, and on the Lady Bears side, we had Paige Rock on last night, and Paige is a senior and has been here for 5 years and is just a great story about how she's improved year over year. And we talked about that with Beth Cunningham last night. And Tom will be in luck. And who knows, maybe he'll get Lacey Stokes on his next episode of Inside the Den. She did pretty good on the MoState Update podcast with us today.
She did. And our thanks to Lacey and to Athletic Director Patrick Ransdell and to you for joining us on Inside Mo Sports Update.
You've been listening to the MoState Update with Art Haynes and Corey Riggs. The preceding has been a Learfield presentation on the Missouri State Sports Network.